Triple S The Good Sports, and another one of our visiting callers for the day here in the National Capital on Qantas Canberra Cup Day. Here's Wayne Wilson from 4TAB in Brisbane. Good morning, Wayne.
Good morning, Paul. How are you? It's lovely to be in Canberra.
I'm well, and looking forward to a big day out there at the races, the Qantas Canberra Cup. It's come around for another year, and we're looking forward to a great day there at the course.
Yes, well, it certainly looks as though it's going to be a big day. The quality of the field for the Qantas Canberra Cup this year is outstanding, as it always is. It's a great race, the Qantas Canberra Cup, and this year is no exception. There's plenty of depth there and getting plenty of support from the big-name trainers from around Australia.
That's for sure. Wayne, tell me a little bit about yourself and your calling career. I've been asking all the callers that question this morning.
Well, Paul, I've been at it for quite some time now. We're not getting any younger, and when I look back, I started at the very tender age of just 13 when I was appointed course commentator at a little country track in central Queensland at a town called Gladstone, which was my hometown. So at 13 years of age, I was pretty young to be doing the job, but it was great experience for me, and eventually I got into a position in radio at Rockhampton at 4RO. That was in the late 60s, and a legendary broadcaster here in Queensland called Tom McGregor had just returned from the Olympic Games in Mexico City, 1968. Tom took ill and retired from broadcasting at 4BC in Brisbane, and a position became available, not a race calling position, just a studio coordination position. So I thought this was a step that I could take, further my career, get a little bit of experience. So I took that opportunity, and at the same time, harness racing was starting in Brisbane, and Vince Curry, the late Vince Curry, was our number one caller here, and he was known Australia-wide as one of the great race callers. And I had the opportunity of acting as backup race caller to Vince, a position that I held for many, many years. Vince eventually found the dual job of broadcasting the gallops and the trots a little bit too much for him, so he decided to give away the harness racing, and I stepped into his shoes there, and at the same time backed him as the gallops caller. Unfortunately, Vince took ill in 1982, died in early 1983, and I was elevated to the number one gallops caller at that time, a position that I've held ever since.
Yes, I can remember Vince, and he must have been a great mentor, a great teacher of you, Wayne.
Well, as a young boy, I idolised three race callers. They were the big three from our point of view when we were in country Queensland. They were the broadcast we got, Bert Bryant, Ken Howard and Vince Curry. And any young aspiring race caller just idolised those three men, and to actually have the opportunity of working with Vince and having the opportunity of meeting Bert Bryant and Ken Howard certainly was a great thrill for me, and it was great to work with Vince Curry. I learned so much from him. He was a very accurate race caller. That was his main aim, to present the call as accurate as he possibly could, and he did that with great accuracy, and I'll always remember my time with Vince. I spent 15 years with him.
Okay, Wayne, so after you took over, you went to the 4BC, which was then the racing station in Brisbane?
That's right. We had a long association with 4BC. I was there for about 23 years, I think. And then it was decided by the Queensland TAB to establish their own racing radio station here in Brisbane, which they did. They purchased an old call sign called 4IP and converted that to 4TAB. We've been there for 3 years now, and it's totally dedicated to racing. We broadcast racing from 9 o'clock in the morning until midnight, right across the board, total racing. So it's something that I had a hand in establishing, something I'm very proud of. We're proud of our sound up here, proud of our racing broadcasts up here, and it's a great honour to be associated with it.
And that racing network, like the one we're part of, the 2KY Racing Network, that's spread throughout Queensland now?
Yes, we broadcast to 33 stations in Queensland, stations or repeater stations, which we have located in all the major towns throughout Queensland. And we're a part of the network that takes in 3UZ and 2KY and the Adelaide station, the Perth station. It's right throughout Australia now. It's something that had to come because radio just wasn't giving racing the coverage it deserved, but it now gets it. And I think the media in Australia, and I've had the opportunity of travelling overseas, I think the media in Australia do a marvellous job, and the racing is very well served by the media in Australia.
Yes, I'd have to agree there. I've travelled a bit, and there's nowhere in the world like Australia for the broadcast of racing, and I think that's part of our culture, isn't it, to be able to switch on the radio, have a bet, and listen to the race?
Well, it certainly is. It's something that the Australian general public expect, and fortunately the radio stations in Australia are able to provide it for them. I've just returned from a trip to Europe, and there's just no coverage off course at all in France, particularly. I was there for the Arc de Triomphe, and there's no coverage off course of the Arc de Triomphe. When you get to England, you get a little bit of television coverage there, but basically radio coverage is nil.
Yeah, well, you know, it's all fine to have television coverage, but of course radio's portable and people can take the radio wherever they go.
It's a little difficult to have that TV in the car along the highway, isn't it?
That is for sure, Wayne, that is for sure. Now tell me, have you been to Canberra before, Wayne?
Many, many years ago. I went to Canberra. I think it's probably 30 years ago, and I went to the races there one day, but I'm looking forward to going out to the track this afternoon. I'll bet there's been some changes made there in the 30 years since I was last there.
They certainly have, both to the race course, which you know, I proudly say is part of the Capital Territory now, and it's very much you know, it's a lovely race course. The facilities out there are top class. I'm sure that you'll enjoy the day, and you'll certainly notice a change to Canberra. It's grown from probably what was described 30 years ago as a country town to quite a big city now.
Well, I remember 30 years ago going through the betting ring there, and I was amazed at the number of bookmakers and the strength of the bookmakers' ring there. So I hope that strength is still there. They're a dying breed, really, the bookmakers. We've seen the numbers dwindle in Queensland over the last 10 or 15 years. I hope it's something that never dies out in Australia, because we need the competition between the TAB and the bookmakers. And whilst we've got that competition, everything in the betting sphere remains very healthy. So that's the memory I've got of the Canberra racetrack, and I'll be interested to have a look at the betting ring there this afternoon. Yeah, I'm sure you won't have trouble placing a bet with the bookies out here. They're a good lot, and there'll be a few, I'm sure, visiting from Sydney as well. So yes, the ring is pretty strong out of Canberra, and I'm sure you'll enjoy the day, Wayne. Well, I'm looking forward to it. As I mentioned before, it's a quality program that we have ahead of us this afternoon at Canberra, and the Cup is just a great feel. So a lot of excitement, a lot of anticipation with the excitement that we're about to experience. Okay, Wayne, well, thanks for joining us here on Triple S this morning, and we look forward to hearing your call as part of the team this afternoon at the Canberra Racecourse, and have a great day. Thank you very much, Paul. Pleasure to talk to you.